Co-host First Things First. Fastest growing show in sports cable. It is rolling. And that's because Chris Broussard and Kevin Wildes hold Nick Wright accountable. And they're going to really hold him accountable today, although I think he saw last night coming. You know, I said this. Eric Spoelstra and Steve Kerr are such great chess players. And they're really, really clever, situationally late game. And if I was the Lakers this morning, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, Rui played good. LeBron had a highly efficient night. Do we have to have AD drop 30 and 15 to win? Because last night, Steph wasn't dominant. It was Draymond. It was Clay. And I look at Darvin Ham and I'm thinking, we go back home. I needed AD to be dominant, and they almost tied it. Do you think the Lakers are thinking to themselves, I guess I'll ask you this. How much at this point how valuable is LeBron? Because I thought he played well last night, and they weren't even competitive in the second half.
He's valuable, but he's LeBron. So we think of him in terms of what he's done throughout his career, right? Because his numbers are still what they always have been, essentially, at least in the regular season. But he does not have close to the impact he used to have. He's not close to the defender he used to be. Now, he'll block some shots, and here and there he'll make some great defensive plays. But overall, he's not the disruptive defensive force he always was in his prime. And then to your point, Colin, he came out yesterday like he wanted to seal the deal. You know, a lot of people thought, they stole game one. They're happy with the split. But LeBron came out like, no, I want to put the hammer down on these guys. And he was great early on, but to your point, it wasn't impactful. And if you look at the Lakers now, LeBron's biggest scoring game against Memphis was, guess what? Game 2, when they lost without Ja Morant. He had 28. In April, when he came back from injury, he had 3 30-plus point games. Twice against Utah, who they barely beat without Utah's 2 best players, and then in a loss to the Clippers. The games they won, he didn't score nearly as much. So the formula for the Lakers is no longer LeBron go for 30 and we'll carry you, we'll ride your back. No, it is Anthony Davis. And the Warriors certainly have the remedy for Anthony Davis. You saw it last night, spread the floor, play 4 shooters, bring him away from the rim, put the ball in Steph's hands, so on and so forth. But the Lakers' only chance is to dominate the interior, which AD should be able to do. He's bigger than everybody else on the floor, but last night he took 1 shot within the restricted area and only 3 total that were even close to the restricted area. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not Dirk Nowitzki. He's not even Joel Embiid when it comes to shooting perimeter shots. Why are you shooting 15-footers when they got nobody that can stop you down low? So they got to get him down low and making him dominant. But honestly, Colin, I've said this for years. He's got the game of a 1, but the mentality of a 2. And so now that LeBron's a 2, they got 2 2s. And you need a 1, I think, to beat Golden State.
No, that's a really good way to put it. Now, I also said this, is that Steve Kerr, it's an easier team to coach because he knows on almost every night he's going to get shooting from either Steph or Clay or both. Great defense from Draymond. Great rebounding from Looney. There's a lot of guarantees with them. When you can't guarantee that AD is dialed in and he's your 1, I think this is a hard Laker team to coach. And I think Darvin's done a really good job. Basically, he's got a new team at the trade deadline, and Laker fans are tough on their coaches. Here's my question, though. If this thing goes 5-6 and the Lakers lose, they're not getting rid of LeBron, right? With Bronny, they're not getting rid of him. Do you have to at least consider, with LeBron's age, Chris, where you're getting 55 games, AD may be great, but he's the wrong teammate. You need an Ant Edwards. You need a 70-game guy. You need a Trae Young. You don't need an old guy that doesn't play 75 games. Let's say they get extinguished in this series. Do you take the phone call on moving AD?
I definitely take the call. I don't know that I move him. Obviously, it'd have to be a great package for him. But I'm definitely taking the call. And I'm listening. You mentioned Edwards and Trae Young, and you can throw in, Damian Lillard or somebody like that. I would definitely want a little size because Golden State is just unique. They go small. Somebody might say, well, why don't you just play small? Well, because everybody's not Golden State. I mean, they're the best shooting team ever, right? Best backcourt, best shooters ever in Klay and Steph. And their system. Everybody can't play that. Look, we can talk about Damian Lillard and Trae Young and Kyrie Irving, all these great scoring point guards in today's game, Colin. Do any of them want to run around like Steph does for 40 minutes? They don't. They want the ball in their hands.
Right.
And, and they're going to beat you one-on-one and do their thing and take their long jumpers. But they don't want to run around like Reggie Miller. Steph will do that. And last night, and I'm going to give you, look, I'm not with you yet on Steph over Magic. I know you said that earlier in the week. But I think if Golden State wins this series, or this championship, I should say, it is a definite discussion. And I think last night, like, Steph gets underrated for finishing at the rim and for his passing and his ball handling. Last night, Colin, people think, oh, Steph didn't do much. He had 20 and 12. He had a Magic Johnson game. He only took 12 shots, and he dominated the game. And so he's showing you, look, I could play like more of a regular point guard if that's what it called for. Because remember, under Mark Jackson, they did play this way, high pick and roll. And Steph was 24 points, 8 assists a game, his highest career assists for a season. So he showed last night, kind of to your point, he could play. I'm not saying he'd be Magic if he played this way totally, but he can play that type of game as well. He's just such a great shooter. He can do both. So, I just think that you got to listen if you're the Lakers. And maybe you even make calls. I'm not saying you shop him or trade him, but see what you could get for him for sure.
I think Celtics 76ers is fascinating. Boston matched up very well with them. Then in game one with no Embiid, and it's funny, the Sixers all year, 13-5 without Embiid, a higher net rating. There's a certain clarity on offense where they're kind of like Maxey Harden. Now, I'm not saying Embiid doesn't deserve this, and he's great. But now it goes back. They got home court. Do you give Philadelphia, even with an 80% Embiid, a shot? Because I'll tell you, when you watch game one, they went toe-to-toe. And I have real questions about the Celtics. If these games are close, I can argue between Embiid and Harden. I got the two better closers to take one shot. So, I mean, do you give Philadelphia a shot?
I don't. I think I'm more down on Philadelphia than most. And I think it's because all these past years seeing Harden in big moments struggle. I know how great he is, but I've just seen so many big playoff moments where he doesn't play his game. I've seen Doc drop so many series when they should have won and could have won. He's the only coach ever to drop multiple 3-1 leads in a series. He's done it 3 times. And even Embiid, I've seen be really good, but not as great as he could be in some playoff moments. So they're at the point where I got to see it to really believe it. And I just think Boston's the better team. Colin, I think it'll go 6, but I would be stunned if Philadelphia beat Boston. And one reason is I think they've got Embiid's and the Sixers number. Embiid is 1-9 against Boston in the playoffs, and a lot of these players are the same. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Embiid himself. Yeah. He was 1-3 against them this year. The game they won, he scored 52 points. But he played well. He'll play well individually tonight. But what Boston can do is bring him out on the floor because they only play one guy that's not a three-point threat, and that's Robert Williams III. Yeah. Al Horford brings Embiid away from the basket. Yep. That opens up drives for the other guys. And Embiid's not great at closing out on threes, understandably. So I think they've got the formula to beat Philadelphia. Look, Philly, like I said, I think they'll get one of these 2 next games. But I think Boston wins in 6.
All right, first things first, will be great today off the the hemorrhaging Lakers. Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. It's a fun watch. Good seeing you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
All right, Colin, you too.